Well, the Dead Sea is a natural wonder, a biblical landmark, and a mineral treasure.
7 decades since the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, around 80 new fragments of the ancient texts.
But this unique body of water is getting smaller.
For millennia, the Dead Sea has been defined by a single, undisputed reality. It is a body of water where nothing lives. A desolate, supersaline wasteland situated at the lowest point on Earth. It's a place of biblical history, but a modern-day symbol of death and desolation. But what if recent, verified scientific discoveries have completely shattered that reality? What if they have found proof of life in this impossible place, and that this discovery is directly linked to an ancient, apocalyptic prophecy that many believe points to the very end of the world as we know it? Now, let's pivot our attention just a few hundred miles south to the Red Sea, a place of historical biblical miracles and modern-day chaos. In recent months, an Iran-backed rebel group has turned this critical waterway into a full-blown war zone, bringing global trade to a standstill and drawing in a massive international military coalition. Why is this happening now? And what could the unfolding chaos in the Red Sea possibly have to do with the prophecy of life at the Dead Sea? The connection between these two events might be more mysterious and significant than you can possibly imagine. This is not just about science or geopolitics, it's about a prophetic convergence unfolding before our very eyes. If you're ready to see how these two seemingly disparate stories are, in fact one, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Your support helps us continue to uncover these crucial truths. Let's dive in. To understand the modern-day significance of the Dead Sea, one must first look back over 2,500 years to the ancient words of the prophet Ezekiel. In Ezekiel chapter 47, a vision is laid out with staggering detail. It describes a river flowing from the temple in Jerusalem that travels toward the east and enters the Arabah, where it finally reaches the Dead Sea. The banks of this new river will be lined with fruit trees, whose leaves and fruit will never fail, providing food and healing. For millennia, this prophecy seemed physically impossible. The Dead Sea is the saltiest and most mineral-laden body of water in the world, with a salinity so high that it prevents any fish, plants, or other macroorganisms from surviving. Its name is a testament to its barren nature. How could such a toxic, lifeless expanse ever be transformed into a thriving ecosystem teeming with life? The prophecy was largely seen as a purely symbolic representation of spiritual renewal, a promise of a new era of life from a place of death. The symbolic interpretation of Ezekiel 47 began to change in the late 20th and early 21st centuries as a series of unprecedented scientific discoveries revealed that a literal fulfillment of the prophecy might be more plausible than anyone had ever imagined. The first notable event occurred in 1980, after a particularly rainy winter. The influx of fresh rainwater temporarily lowered the Dead Sea's salinity, causing a large-scale algae bloom. Researchers at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem found the sea teeming with a specific alga named Dunaliella, which in turn fed red pigmented halobacteria, causing the entire sea to turn red. This temporary phenomena demonstrated that the Dead Sea was not inherently hostile to life, but that its high salinity was the single crucial barrier. The most significant discovery, however, came more recently. In 2011, a team of scientists from Israel and Germany used scuba equipment to explore the sea floor, and what they found was astonishing. Fissures and vents that were discharging fresh and brackish water. Surrounding these vents were thriving biofilms containing numerous species of bacteria and archaea. Further research has revealed the existence of white smokers, which are meter-high chimney-shaped vents on the sea floor formed by the spontaneous crystallization of minerals from the highly saline groundwater flowing out of these fissures. The existence of these freshwater sources beneath the Dead Sea is the literal, physical manifestation of the impossible, life-giving water flowing into the sea of death from a hidden source. It is the beginning of the end of the Dead Sea as we know it, and it is a fascinating, complex process that carries a powerful message. The very force that is fulfilling a prophecy of life and restoration is also causing destruction on the surface. The influx of fresh water from these hidden springs is dissolving ancient salt layers beneath the shore, leading to a rapid proliferation of thousands of large sinkholes. Roads, beaches, and tourist attractions have been swallowed up, a visible sign of the ground literally collapsing. This phenomenon illustrates that the process of prophetic restoration is not a simple, clean, instantaneous event. It is a profound, destabilizing force that first breaks down the old foundations to make way for the new. Just as the Dead Sea is undergoing a transformation from within, the Red Sea, a critical passage on the other side of the Arabian Peninsula, has become a stage for prophetic events. The Red Sea is one of the world's most vital maritime arteries, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean via the Suez Canal and the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. Historically referred to as the Interstate 95 of the planet, it facilitates the flow of over 10% of global trade by volume, including a staggering 20% of container shipping, nearly 10% of seaborne oil, and 8% of the world's liquefied natural gas. In recent months, this critical choke point has become a flashpoint for international conflict. The chaos is a direct result of attacks by the Houthis, an Iran-backed rebel group that controls a significant portion of Yemen's territory along the Red Sea. The Houthis have launched drones and missiles at international shipping vessels, claiming their actions are in solidarity with Hamas and are meant to pressure Israel to end its war in Gaza. However, their targeting has been indiscriminate, affecting vessels from over 40 nations and forcing a massive rerouting of global shipping around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks of travel time and billions in costs. This conflict is not a localized incident. It is part of a broader, more complex strategic agenda. U.S. and other international officials have stated that Iran plays a significant role in enabling these attacks, providing the Houthis with advanced weaponry, targeting intelligence, and military advice, while some analysts claim Iran doesn't exercise full control over the Houthis. It's clear that the group's capabilities are a direct result of this deepening relationship. The Houthi attacks are a manifestation of their ideology, which is rooted in Islamic fundamentalism and aims to expel the United States from the Middle East, destroy Israel, and establish a global caliphate with Jerusalem at its core. The escalating attacks have prompted a powerful international response. The events unfolding in the Red Sea are not just about global trade, they resonate with prophetic imagery. The Book of Revelation contains the powerful symbolism of a red dragon who wages war against God's people. Biblical scholars have noted that this red dragon is reminiscent of the Red Sea of the Exodus, where God defeated a powerful enemy, Pharaoh's army. The color red is used only once in the Bible to describe the dragon, which Jewish audiences would have immediately understood as a symbol of God's impending overthrow of a powerful foe. The events at the Dead Sea and the Red Sea are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger, global narrative of prophetic fulfillment. The most significant of these is the rebirth of Israel as a nation in 1948, an event that many scholars consider the single greatest sign of the end times. This event fulfilled the prophecy in Ezekiel 37, where the prophet described a valley of dry bones coming to life and being brought back to their land. The modern return of the Jewish people to Israel after centuries of dispersion is a clear and undeniable fulfillment that set the stage for all other end times prophecies to unfold. Beyond this, biblical prophecy describes a period of increasing global turmoil that Jesus himself referred to as the beginning of birth pains in Matthew 24. We know that God has a plan, that he knows the end from the beginning, and that his purposes will surely come to pass. Knowing that Jesus Christ will return to establish his kingdom and make all things new gives us the confidence to face the trials of this age without despair. Finally, prophecy provides practical guidance for everyday living. An awareness of Christ's imminent return should not lead to passivity, but should instead energize our walk with the Lord. It drives a sense of urgency to share the gospel with a world in need and encourages us to live righteously and purposefully, knowing that the time is near. We have now journeyed from the barren shores of the Dead Sea to the chaotic waterways of the Red Sea, and in doing so, we've seen that these two seemingly unrelated stories are, in fact, part of a single divine drama. At the Dead Sea, we see the impossible happening, life from death, a physical manifestation of a promise of spiritual renewal, even as the old foundations are crumbling beneath a flood of new creation. It is a powerful prefiguring of the end times, where the very chaos we see is a sign of God's redemptive plan at work. And at the Red Sea, we see a stage where the battle lines for the end are being drawn. The conflict is not just a geopolitical struggle for trade, routes, but a spiritual battle, with key players whose actions are a prophetic fulfillment of ancient scriptures. The chaos and conflict are not a sign of God's absence, but a clear signal that the forces described in Revelation are taking their positions on the world stage. The modern crisis is a symbolic reenactment of an ancient struggle, with the color red itself serving as a powerful reminder of God's ultimate victory. The confluence of these events, the physical fulfillment of prophecy at the Dead Sea, and the geopolitical stage being set in the Red Sea, serves as a powerful signpost for a world in need of hope. Could it be that as the foundations of the old world are literally collapsing in the Dead Sea, the battle lines for the new one are being drawn in the Red Sea? The answer, according to the prophetic timeline, is yes. The world is not collapsing into a meaningless void. It is a world in the midst of birth pains, a world being prepared for the return of its king. Jesus is returning to establish his kingdom of peace and justice, to make all things new, and to finally defeat the forces of chaos and evil. The events we are witnessing today are not a reason for fear, but an invitation to be watchful, to stand firm in our faith, and to share the gospel with urgency. The chaos we see is a sign of his nearness, not his absence, and it's a call for every believer to lift up their heads because their redemption is drawing near.